This morning I ran an 8K, and during the run I listened to a breakdown of Iman Gadzhi. Hope I'm pronouncing the name right. In case you don't know him, he's a big name in the online marketing space, online education space, whatever you want to call it. And in the video they were talking about his struggles, and that made me think about my own struggles this year. And there were really two things I struggled with that I want to share in this video. The first one is very recent. It's from this week, where it's been going on for the entire year, but literally yesterday I committed to 75 hard, meaning that for 75 days I'm going to train twice a day for 45 minutes each. I'm going to do a few other things, but this is the main commitment, doing 2 45-minute workouts a day. I committed to doing this because I know that at this point in my fitness journey, in order to level up, this is going to be the right thing to do. And it's the perfect time stretch from now until Christmas. It's actually a little over 80 days, but overall it's a perfect time to go hard at the end of the year. And as one of my good friends and fitness mentors recently said, great physiques are built in the winter. I'm actually going to have to turn the camera a little bit and move myself out of the sun here. Now, the funny thing is that yesterday I recorded a video about this 75 hard thing, about my commitment to do it. And literally 2 hours later, I trained and I started noticing pain in my shoulder. And I have this shoulder injury that has been flaring up on and off for the past 10 years, actually more like 14 years. And it's never really been a problem. Last year when I prepared for my kickboxing fight, I could feel it some days a little bit, but it was never a problem. So it was not really like an acute injury until June or July this year. And in June or July, I was trying to learn the muscle up and I didn't really get the technique yet. So I tried to force it. And there was one very specific day where I overdid it. And the next day I started feeling pain in both of my shoulders. Now it's a lot more pronounced on the left side than on the other one. And since then, I haven't really let it recover properly. I cut back a bit on my shoulder workouts, but unfortunately I made the almost like, of course, in a way, stupid mistake to not let it heal. So now I'm in this self-made situation where I committed to doing 75 hard to training, but my shoulders need to recover, because if I keep training on an injured shoulder, it's only going to get worse. So last night I was lying in bed and trying to figure out what to make of this conundrum, and I thought about a workout plan that I can do that will allow me to train at the same time not putting any strain on my shoulders or not putting too much strain on my shoulders, so hopefully they can recover. So I'm going to try to do that. Not 100% sure it's going to work, but that's my aim on how I can do 75 hard and push through that. And while I was running today, I had these exact thoughts, like, why does this happen right now? Why am I experiencing these issues with my shoulder? Why is it flaring up right now? And it's kind of this thought of, why me? Why now? Why does this stuff always happen at the worst point in time? And whenever I have these thoughts, I tell myself that of course it's going to happen to you at a point in time where you least expect it or least want it. Because if it happened at a different point in time, then it wouldn't have been a problem. You wouldn't have noticed it. The only reason you really notice that it's coming at the wrong time is because it happens at the wrong time. And life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. This is a really big one. I learned this from Tony Robbins about 10 years ago. Life, and it sounds almost silly. Life doesn't happen to you, it happens for you. But when you really adopt this mindset that everything that happens for the greater benefit of yourself, if you can really adopt that mindset, then you can see things in a much more positive light. Because one option would be to feel like a victim, like, oh, why does this happen to me? Why does this happen now? And almost pull negative energy out of thin air. The other perspective is to just say, well, this happened. Now, what can I learn from this? Or what can I take away from this? Or how can I see it as a challenge for the best? And in some cases, it's horrible because you might have a disease, you might have some big issue or a big injury, but it's already happening. So there's no point in feeling bad about it. The question is, how can you make the most out of it? And in my case, it's forcing me to become more conscious about how I train, to become more conscious about not putting strain on my shoulder, to focus instead more on my lower body and my core, which is also great. So unfortunately, this lighting thing here is getting a bit too annoying. So let's move somewhere else. Now, the second big thing I've struggled with this year has been this whole journey of leaving the corporate life behind, leaving the corporate life and joining, give me one second. So this whole journey of leaving the legal world behind, and if you haven't been following me, if this is the first video you ever see of me for whatever reason, then I used to be a corporate lawyer. Just to give you a bit of a backstory, working in a big corporate law firm. Then I left the corporate law firm and joined a boutique law firm, then moved to another boutique law firm, but realized that being a lawyer didn't really make me fulfilled. I wanted to instead follow my passion. This whole process is something that's been on my mind. I already knew that I was unfulfilled at this first big corporate law firm, but when you work in these positions, it's so hard to make the decision to leave, to decide that you're leaving this behind. You put in all the work to get there, years of studying, you have a great salary, you have a great environment, everybody is telling you, everybody is jealous of you, everybody is telling you like, oh my God, you are stupid to do that. Are you sure you want to do it? You have no idea what you're doing. And all of those things. So of course you question it and you're worried about doing something else and maybe failing with it. You also have this fear in yourself like, okay, if I do this now and I don't succeed, will I ever get a similar job again? So all of these worries kept me in that environment for so long. And then when I finally decided to do what I want to do and start creating content, and I didn't even know what I wanted to create exactly, I just wanted to get going. It was such a big step for me that of course this has been on my mind almost 24/7, thinking about whether it was the right decision, thinking about where will this lead me, what will I actually do, what will my life look like, what if it doesn't work out. And in those moments I remind myself that that's one of my big tenets, lessons, principles that I try to live by. And that is something that I tried to develop over the last few years, developing this almost unwavering self-belief that whatever happens, I can find a solution. It might not be the best solution. It might be, in fact, a horrible solution, but I can find some solution that will get me closer to the outcome that I want. Some solution that will put me in a different spot than when the problem came up. And finding some solution is always better than being worried about failing. If you trust yourself that you can find a way, if you trust in your ability to find a solution, to find a path and to walk that path, then everything is open to you. Doesn't matter what problem comes your way. Doesn't matter what challenge comes your way. If you trust in your ability to find a solution, you're going to eventually find a solution. You are bound to succeed. If you're not giving up, there's only this, whatever comes in your way is only temporary failure. It's not defeat. It's not permanent. It's only temporary, because if you keep going, if you keep trying, if you keep iterating, you are eventually going to find a path that works. You're eventually going to find a solution that works. So that said, I am still so excited for this whole journey. I'm excited to where this is going. Finally sticking with the content creation after literally, this is my third attempt at creating content. I first started in 2013, I think, or 2014. Still have some of these old videos, so I'm going to maybe pull one up here. And it's such a crazy path already that it's so stupid that I gave up back then, that I didn't continue, but now I'm here and now I'm going to continue doing this. And one day I will look back at this video and be so proud of myself for continuing with this. And this is how it goes in life, right? In the small day-to-day, sometimes we don't really see progress. So especially with fitness, and that's how I know that it applies to everything in life, because in fitness you do these activities, you train every single day, and from one day to the other you won't see any muscle growth. You won't see progress in the mirror. Maybe you see a difference on the weight scale, but you never know. On a day-to-day basis, it fluctuates so much due to water and salt intake. in carb intake. So you cannot really say whether you're progressing or not. But if you do it the right way, it's inevitable you are going to progress on the big picture of things. So you might not see the micro progress, but you will see the macro progress after a certain time. The macro progress just lags behind a little bit. So how do you measure the micro progress? Well, the only way to really measure it if we don't see an outcome is by measuring the inputs, is by measuring what we put in on a day-to-day basis. And that is how I know I'm progressing, because I'm doing the work. I'm trying to get better. I'm trying to improve what I'm doing. I'm trying to get stronger in the gym. I'm trying to be faster in my boxing. I'm trying to improve my conditioning. And yes, from one workout to the other, I might not improve. But I do know if I'm consistent and I stick with it, in the long term, I will improve. And it's the same thing with my business. It's the same thing with content creation. I might not see a difference from one video to the other, but if I keep creating content, and with every video, I try to get better at speaking, I try to articulate my thoughts better, I try to improve the entire structure of the video, I try to improve the titles I pick, I try to improve the topics I pick. If I do that with every video and I just improve by 0.000001% and I keep doing it for long enough, I will eventually get better. And that's all I can do. All I can control is myself. I can only control what I do, how I feel. Everything else is out of my control. I can control to put myself in the chair at the desk and start working. I can control that I don't get sucked into negative thoughts. I can tell myself that, well, if you're not progressing and you feel like giving up, that's exactly the point in time where you have to double down. I can do those things. What I cannot control is the outcome. That depends on so many other things. But if I keep controlling the inputs for long enough, the outputs will follow. So if you're still watching this video at the end of this 15-minute rant, then appreciate you being here. If you're not subscribed yet, I would appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. We're at close to 120 subscribers right now. Cannot wait for this channel to grow. If there's anything you want me to talk about in particular, hit me up in the comments and I'll see you otherwise in one of my next videos.